Cheat Code. Support Strategist. By Clouds. My Hand in the Clouds Not Coming Down. Oneo 3. Chapter 66. Tipsy Turvy. Okay, Shigdig, are you sure you actually want me to do this? Ochako asked nervously. I've never teleported a person before, and if something goes wrong... I mean, you teleported the houseplants without damaging them at all, Hitoshi pointed out. And some of those boxes were just as heavy as I am, so I'll be fine. But my quirk... Ochako hugged herself insecurely. Aren't you scared I'll hurt you? Hitoshi shrugged. If you do, Mineta can always just put me back together with some spare parts. Ochako looked at him in shock and disbelief for a second before punching him in the arm. Hitoshi Shinso, this is serious. I could actually hurt you. I know. Hitoshi laughed and held his hands up in surrender. But Mei and Izuku ran the numbers, and you've trained a lot. So teleporting me shouldn't be too difficult from teleporting, like, a fridge or something. Your warping abilities doesn't seem to care if it's something alive or even what it is. Izuku shrugged. Your Quirk only cares about how much something weighs. Ochako still looked nervous. So, as the light from All for One gathered around her again, Hitoshi smiled. Hey, look. I've got a pretty scary quirk, but you trust me anyways, right? Ochako scoffed. Don't be ridiculous. Of course I do. Good. Hitoshi held out his hands in a fist, with a pinky up. Then promise to trust me, and I'll promise to trust you. Deal? Ochako took a deep breath and gripped his pinky with her own. Deal. Hitoshi only had a split second to enjoy the moment before the world turned upside down. Tomura hated this. He kind of wished that he never ran into Todoroki in that stupid alley, because then he never would have blown up as a streamer, and then he never would have realized he liked gaming more than he ever liked being a villain. If Sensei actually cared about him, he would have seen that, right? Even if he hadn't, what kind of sick person encourages a 5-year-old to kill people? The chat didn't even know that was the legacy his sensei was trying to pass on to him. And still, people were donating like crazy to try to get him out of the house. He didn't even live with sensei. But Tomura still had to admit that getting an apartment with zero ties to him or the League was starting to sound extremely appealing. At the very least, he'd be able to get a better gaming setup than he was able to have with a laptop in a murder alley, as Todoroki liked to call it. He shouldn't be doing this. He had no idea how Sensei would react if he knew that Tomura was playing around with the idea of leaving the League and abandoning his role as Sensei's protege. But for some crazy reason, he was still going behind everyone's back and researching apartments. Without Sensei's money. He wouldn't be able to afford anything too fancy, but there were a couple hole-in-the-wall places that had caught his eye. He should probably get something with 2 bedrooms in case Todoroki wanted to get off the streets for a couple of nights. Tomura caught himself before that line of thought could go any further. With as much time as they spent together, he sometimes forgot that they were fundamentally enemies. Todoroki was a hero student. There was absolutely no way that he'd be willing to move in with a villain, even if they practically acted like squabbling brothers on their streams. It just wouldn't work out. Still, if the apartment didn't have any other connections to the League, then it might still be neutral enough for Todoroki to be open to using it as a streaming space. And as long as he kept it a secret from Sensei, for as long as possible, he might just be able to get away with it. Hopefully. Why did everything have to be so complicated? He just wanted to relax and live the rest of his life as a stupid streamer and not have to worry about what Sensei would do to him. Or worse, to Todoroki if he were ever to find out. Was that too much to ask? Tomura sighed and clicked on another listing. Probably. Hitoshi knew that, theoretically, they must be on solid ground. Theoretically, his stomach, however, hadn't gotten the message. He could vaguely see other people around him, but all he could focus on was clapping his hands over his mouth and trying not to throw up. "Sweetie," a female voice said. "Is he supposed to be that green?" "Oh, no." Ochako sounded panic. "Dad, grab a bowl." Someone shoved a bowl at his chest, and Hitoshi grabbed it gracefully, fully losing his battle and guts. It took a moment for his stomach to settle down, and everything he was left with was gross, acid taste in his mouth. Is this what it feels like every time? Damn, Ochako, you must have an iron stomach or something. This is terrible. Ugh. Ochako patted his back as she chuckled awkwardly. "Yeah, it takes some getting used to. Mom? Dad, this is Shigdig. Hitoshi Shindo? This is my friend." Hitoshi grimaced and looked up as he realized that, yes, Ochako's parents were here too, and yes, they had seen him throw up. Wonderful. Great first impression. He gave an awkward wave. Hi. Ochako's parents looked like her. Her mom had the same pink cheeks and brown hair, but she obviously got her muscle and strength from her dad. Thankfully, they also seemed to have her personality because instead of looking at him with disgust, her dad just looked concerned. "You okay, son?" Hitoshi swallowed. Yeah, just kinda wasn't expecting that." "Yeah, neither would we." Ochako's mom laughed. "We thought the nausea was from her using her quirk, but I guess it's just the gravity going all tipsy-turvy on you, huh?" Ochako had taken the bowl away from him at some point and brought him a glass of water. "So, besides nausea, are you feeling all right? There weren't any other side effects, right?" Hitoshi shook his head. "No, I'm already starting to feel more, well, less. I just got off of a really bad roller coaster, but I'll be okay in a couple minutes. But I am not looking forward to the return trip. No offense." Ochako wriggled her nose. "Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to incorporate barf bags into my hero costume if I plan to take civilians with me. People I teleport frequently will probably get used to the gravity shifts, but new people, maybe there's some other way to lessen the impact?" "If anyone can figure it out, it's me." Hitoshi shrugged. "But yeah, we should talk to Izuku and make sure there's nothing else going on before you start taking rescue victims on the unexpected Tilla hurl." Ochako's mom frowned. "Isn't it Tilla real?" Hitoshi smirked. "I said what I said." Ochako pouted, and her dad clapped him firmly on the back. "Well, now that that's taken care of, it's nice to meet you. We've heard a lot about you." Hitoshi frowned in confusion. "You have?" "Of course," her mom smiled. "Ochako talks about you all the time." We should probably be heading back soon." Ochako blushed furiously. Shigdig, you're good to jump again, right?" "Oh, don't worry. We'll try not to embarrass you." Ochako's dad winked. "Much." Ochako groaned and put her head in her hand. "I'm just gonna..." She disappeared from existence, and until she blinked. Bye?" Her mom was struggling to hold back her giggles. "Does that happen often?" Hitoshi shrugged and stared at where Ochako was supposed to be until she reappeared, blushing even harder than she had been before. "Sorry, I kinda didn't mean to do that, but, Mina says hi." Izuku ran through the numbers again. The mystery warper had warped one more time after the initial ping, but no more data had come through after that, so the only teleporter must be staying in one place. The basic mechanics of the warp seemed similar to Ochako's, but the new guy's signature was more spread out, which made them a lot more difficult to track. Izuku couldn't tell that there had been a warp and kind of get a general sense of where the guy had ended up, but it was going to take a lot more work to actually be able to track them like he could with Ochako. Izuku's main question was why. Ochako's jumps had been pretty specific, even in the beginning when they were starting to figure out how her new quirk worked. Why was the other signature so different? It wasn't until he had taken Hitoshi along for one of her jumps that it clicked. When Ochako warped with large objects such as a person, her quirk affected a larger area, and it looked a little more similar to the dispersed signature from the mysterious warper. But when it was just her, the area affected was much smaller. So the other warper was either extremely large, which wasn't very likely, especially considering that the mystery warper signature had differentiated slightly between the two warps, which implied that something had changed, or their quirk was primarily optimized to warp other people with them. It was possible that there was some other explanation for the different signatures, but from Izuku's observation, that one was the most likely. He would have to go check the quirk registry to make sure, but to his knowledge, there was only one teleportation quirk that would fit the reading. Had it gone from a mystery warper, or that was Warpgate. He had gotten a signature from Kurogiri. Okay, am I a really big Shinso x Uraraka shipper? I wasn't, but in this fanfic, I am. Because of the dynamic of Ochako being like, my quirk can be dangerous, my quirk can hurt you, I don't know this quirk is so new, having quirk difficulties. And probably she has a bit of imposter syndrome because imposter syndrome. I have a bit of imposter syndrome. Hi, welcome. Welcome to the world. Many of your favorite YouTubers and social media influencers have gone through, some imposter syndrome. Because imposter syndrome. Anyways, right? And obviously Hitoshi, he has a quote-unquote villainous quirk. I also don't agree with the whole villainous quirk. I'm with 13 and Izuku. Quirks are neutral. It's what you use them to, become inherently evil. Like, for example, a knife. You don't think of a knife and you think, oh my god, that is a bad thing. That can kill you, blah, 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 blah. Normally, when you think of a knife, at least when I think of a knife, I think of a cutting utensil, right? To cut. Whether you use that to cut a human, another living creature, or a vegetable is up to you. But in the end, it's the wielder who chooses, that thing for it. The only reason something would be inherently evil is because you could not use it for any other thing but evil, right? So let's say, for example, a quirk, you can choose to just not use it for evil and instead use it for other purposes. There is no inherently quote-unquote evil quirk, unless there's some quirk out there that's like kills you or something. But even that, even like quirks like Shirogiri, right? Not Shirogiri, Shigaraki, where it's literally disintegration. It's a destructive quirk, but it can still be used to save. For example, oh no, civilians are stuck underneath rebel. Bloom, bloom, bloom. No more rebel. Talking about Tomura, can we just talk about his development? I love it. He's finally becoming developed. Specifically in the sense of he wants to get his own apartment to be completely outside of the whole all for one kind of thing. Which also, that whole little tidbit where it's like, I could get an apartment with 2 rooms, so, Todoroki doesn't have to be out in the streets. But wait, hold up. Like, that wouldn't happen. Todoroki wouldn't want to be there. But, like, maybe. It's like, and the whole brotherly, like, yeah, that's what I got. That's what I got from, like, their friendship, like, big brother, little brother. Or just, two traumatized people coming together and, found family. I am a sucker for found family. I want more found family. Am I later going to try to search more fanfics with this found family, trauma bonding kind of thing? Very much, yes, absolutely. And actually, that whole dynamic that Todoroki and Shigaraki has reminds me of something that I've been thinking about for a while. You know that I'm working on a fanfiction. I keep saying I'm working on a fanfiction, but let's be honest, I'm just thinking about it. I'm being a quote-unquote writer. I'm thinking about it, but I'm never actually sitting and writing about it. I barely have the first chapter written down. Like, I swear to God, it's probably going to take like a year or 2 for this to actually get out, or me to actually put, batteries in and actually start working on it. But it's just, for me, the most difficult part is starting the first chapter. Once I get done through that, then I'll be able to go through the whole thing, like, boom, 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 boom. You know, it's just, my difficult part is getting started with it. I don't know, it's weird. But, yeah, it's something it reminded me, because in that fanfiction, I, for some reason, had the idea, okay, well, that's fun, but what if this happened instead, right? And what if instead of the main character going the hero route, they went the villain route? And I'm like, okay, there's not enough, like, I would need to change some things in the story, you know, take away some of the supports to make it believable for this character to go the evil route, because technically speaking, that main character, depending on her backstory, twists if she becomes evil or good, right? She's a morally twisted character in a sense, right? Because I love morally twisted characters. Yes, I do. Is it funny that my two favorite OCs from My Hero Academia happen to both be morally twisted characters? Morally gray characters? Yes, because gray is a color I love in a character. But as I was saying, it reminded me of this thing because in the alternate version, right, where she, instead of becoming a hero, starts working for the villains and becomes kind of like a spy-ish for the villains and stuff, right? She still goes to UA and whatever, right? But at the same time, she's not a hero. She's a villain, right? And I'm like, okay, how would she be a villain? Would she be independent? Would she join a league? Would it be the League of Villains? What would happen? Stuff like that. And then I got into the whole, okay, she'll join the League of Villains. Great, wonderful. How is she gonna react to whole, like, each one? And that's when I got the whole, okay, her and Shigaraki are gonna get really along, because the way that she becomes the villain is because she ends up hating society and just wants to take everything. She just wants chaos. She wants chaos. Chaos now, right now. And I was like, okay, alright. They would get along, right? I'm like, okay, age gap. They would probably get along like a little sister and little brother, right? You know, the less of like two friends and more of, oh, big brother, little sister kind of thing. I see that happens a lot. My younger friends, I kind of view them as either like, oh, my children, or oh, my siblings, right? It's kind of hard not to differentiate that, like, specifically when like they're like really younger. Like, I mean, 3 years isn't that difference, but in the sense of us, it is different, because technically the mind of a 3-year-old younger than me, 3 years younger than me, is a different mindset than, you know, like, you know, it's like my, whatever, I see them, I'm like, oh, my precious, my children, my siblings, I must protect. I must defend. I'm a big brother, is what happens. I have my own big brother as well. He's only a year older than me, but I swear to God, that man is wiser than any old wife I've ever, like, I don't know, he's wise. I don't know, he's ancient. I joke around that he's an old man all the time, but as I was saying, yeah, and so, like, I thought, oh, okay, well, I'll have them have a brotherly and a sisterly figure kind of thing, like siblings, haha, you know, like, they could bug each other or whatever, right? And I'm like, okay, well, Dabi could get along too, because, like, you know, Dabi wants to destroy Endeavor and destroy Hero Society, and, you know, my OC wants to destroy society, and if that, you know, if Endeavor's in the way, so be it, he's getting thrown out too. I feel like the three of them would be like, hee hee hee, ha ha ha, destruction, chaos, destruction, hee hee hee, ha ha ha, right? So yeah, and like sitting here is like, hold up, this is getting awfully similar on how I ended up doing it so that Shigaraki meets my OC, which is in an alley, right? That isn't when the OC starts joining. The OC starts joining in a different area, right? But she's in the alley because she ran away. It's starting to seem too similar. That's why I'm over here like, hey, I know it's gonna sound super similar, but I swear to God I had this idea way before. Like, I even talked to this about, I think it was either Vale or my other friend, Char Char, which, so I swear to God. I might switch up the story a little bit so it's not as similar, because that's a little too similar for my liking, so I might just remove the alleyway meeting. She's still gonna be in an alleyway, do not get me wrong. She's still freaking leaving, right? She's still running away, but they're not gonna meet in an alleyway. They're gonna meet at a different point, because meeting in an alleyway is a little too close to this, which I don't really like, and I don't want to really seem like I'm copying ideas or anything like that, so I'm backing off. I'm putting a step back. But yeah, I can't wait to see more of his character development and see, does he actually get to become independent? Does he get set free? Is he finally going to be, you know, actually free? Because beforehand, he was not free. He might feel like he's in control and he's free, but he's not. He's literally been groomed. I will die on this hill. Shigaraki Tomura, or Tomura Shigaraki, has been groomed by All For One. All For One did not give a shit about Tomura, and never has, never will, right? Maybe in some of the fanfics he does, but in the main show, and definitely in this fanfic, he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a rat's ass. But yeah, this is a long tangent. I'm gonna end it. But as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Join our community Discord server, link is in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.